This morning, President Trump's immigration crackdown could be moving into uncharted territory involving the U.S. military. 3 defense officials tell NBC News the administration is considering options to create a buffer zone along the New Mexico border that could include American troops temporarily holding migrants who cross into the U.S. The plan has not been approved, but comes as the White House continues to test the limits of executive power.
Americans can absolutely expect to see the continuation of the mass deportation campaign.
A clash with the federal court system has been intensifying. NBC News has tracked 37 rulings from federal judges that have at least temporarily blocked actions taken by President Trump, and the White House is pushing back.
This judge had no right to do that. They're meddling in foreign affairs. They're meddling in our government.
The Trump administration railing against Judge James Boasberg, who temporarily blocked the president from using an obscure 18th century law to deport alleged Venezuelan gang members to a prison in El Salvador. Boasberg was first appointed to D.C. Superior Court by President George W. Bush, then later elevated to the federal bench by President Barack Obama. In law school, he was roommates with conservative Supreme Court Justice Brett Kavanaugh. Throughout history, federal judges have been seen as apolitical when interpreting the law. The U.S. Constitution established 3 co-equal branches of government: the legislative, executive, and judicial. The system designed to prevent any one branch from becoming too powerful through a system of checks and balances. But the White House is arguing voters chose Trump, not the judges.
A single district court judge out of 700 cannot set policy for the entire nation, let alone on national security and public safety issues.
Well,
okay, NBC's Gabe Gutierrez with that report.
Yeah, but hold a second. So let's just, again, explain this.
Judge Boasberg was called a Democratic activist
A
judge.
leftist. He was roommates with Brett Kavanaugh, is that right?
He was first appointed, I believe, by President Bush.
Yeah.
And then moved up by
What a radical.
Obama.
You know, the thing is, though, again, this happens time and time again. Maura, we've been talking about this, but they keep saying it, so we need to keep correcting people there and reminding people this happens all the time. And by the way, let me just say, I think that courts, federal courts, and if it gets to the Supreme Court, they're going to give a lot of deference to the president on immigration. They always do, especially on enforcement. But single federal court judges repeatedly step in and stop a president's actions. And on national security, they did it with George W. Bush in 2007 with an NSA warrantless wiretapping, right? So they stepped in in the middle of the war on terror, a hot war on terror. They stepped in. One judge did. One judge stepped in with Barack Obama on DAPA. Again, about immigration. One federal judge did. One federal judge stepped in the Biden administration on vaccine mandates. But this happens all the time. It happens to every president. So for the Attorney General of the United States and other people saying, why, one judge can't. No, one judge can do this. One judge has done this, and they can't defy a federal judge that's done it. That's how Madisonian democracy works. Yeah. And as Republicans are saying in the Senate, if you don't like it, that's why God made appellate courts.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's also why we have the separation of powers. Anybody could go watch the Schoolhouse Rock series, and I recommend that to learn that actually the president in a democracy cannot just do anything he wants against the orders of courts. We do have 3 branches of government still in this country, and I think
separate,
equal. Thank you.
Yeah,
but the key here is the attack on this judge, and we're seeing this. It's the same through line with the attacks on Liz Cheney. This is really not about an ideological issue. This is about Donald Trump and this White House attacking anybody who stands in their way. And that is an authoritarian impulse. This is, across the board. It doesn't matter. It's clear right now what the ideology of the person is. If they are willing to have the courage to speak out against this administration in any way, whether they be a university president, a Republican-appointed judge, if they are doing their job, and if they are upholding the office that they took an oath for, and that happens to conflict with what the White House wants, this White House will go after them.
Well, the thing is, though, the argument right here is not really even on the law.
Right.
He just wants to get the facts. Okay, so who did you deport? You say they're in a gang. Give me some of the details. Give me the facts. When did the flights take off? So this judge is just trying to do what any judge throughout history would do, get the facts so he knows how to apply the law to the facts. And so, again, it is three separate but equal branches. And the fact that they keep pushing back hard, we talked about this off air. I think Donald Trump kind of tipped his hand when he talked about Bobby Knight a couple days ago. They're just working the refs, like Bobby Knight worked the refs. And so they're pushing. And then when they're asked, are you going to defy court order? And they go, well, of course not. We're not going to defy the court order. The judges in the courtroom are, of course, Your Honor, we're going to get you the information. We're not going to defy. But then at the same time, they're doing the Bobby Knight thing. We're constantly working the refs. And I will say, with consequences, a New York Times story talking about yesterday, the danger that federal judges are in. And let me tell you, I had people close to me who were friends with a federal judge in Birmingham, Alabama. I think in the 1980s, that got blown up and killed in an assassination. So, you totally get people fighting on the issues, debating hard on the issues. But you just can't call these judges lawless or anything else because they're doing what judges did to Joe Biden, what judges did to Barack Obama, what judges did to George W. Bush.
Yeah. And we have seen so many of Trump's top allies, Stephen Miller, Elon Musk, suggesting these judges who are now under threat, they should be impeached. They should be removed, forgetting the ideas of the co-equal branches of government. Although I should note that Schoolhouse Rock that taught us all that now in jeopardy because the Department of Education is going to be closed. So therefore, that won't be as widespread as previously. But I think there is an element here, though I've been talking to people in the West Wing, and I have a piece today about how they're doing this on the immigration front, about Stephen Miller at the forefront of this, trying to use presidential powers, arcane ones. We saw one already that dates from the 1798 to try to push the limits as to what they can do. And that includes now trying to intimidate federal judges to move the law, if need be, as we heard from President Trump in the interview this week, saying, no, we're not going to defy a court order, but clearly setting a template, Peter Baker, to eventually do so. And some argue perhaps already have. So that's my question to you, is the strategy here from the West Wing to keep testing, to keep pushing, to keep prodding, to looking for the weak links, that, maybe right now they will largely obey court orders, maybe try to fight them on technical grounds, but it certainly seems like they're laying the groundwork for something bigger.
Yeah, they're explaining to their public their version of what's happening, right? So the president says, I'm going to obey court orders. At the same time, he's now stirring the pot on this impeachment stuff. So what happens yesterday morning? He sends out a fundraising email titled Impeach, 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 specifically going after Jeb Boasberg, the judge, in the case we're talking about here, to his supporters, who describing the judge as a radical lunatic, all that kind of stuff. So he's explaining to his public, at the very least, why he's losing. So the story to his public, to his base, to his supporters, isn't that Donald Trump is violating the law, as according to these federal judges. The story is the federal judges are off their duties. They're not the rogue judges. They're somehow not doing it. That's why Chief Justice Roberts, I think, spoke up, because he wanted to make it not about one judge, not about Judge Boasberg, but about the system. And in taking those arrows himself a little bit, he's saying, you're not being fair to, you're not right to go after one judge, basically. This is about the judiciary and how we work. And you can appeal if you don't like the judgment. But you're right. The question is whether they're laying the groundwork for something more radical down the road. Mm-hmm. And I think that's the concern by a lot of people in Washington right now, including Republicans.
And Rev, as the Wall Street Journal editorial page said yesterday, you don't want your decisions challenged. Follow the law. And by the way, Rupert Murdoch's Wall Street Journal editorial page saying, you don't like the results, follow the law.
I think that the fact that it was Murdoch's Wall Street Journal saying that shows how far out this is. And you've got to wonder what they're building toward. But when you look at the fact that Donald Trump said from his first term, his hero was Andrew Jackson, who defied the law. I learned from our historian here that he wasn't the one that said enforce it, but he certainly was the one that would challenge it. Mm-hmm. Trump gave every signal that he intends to upset how we deal with the balances of power and enforcement of laws of judges. And I think that this is what we're seeing, a test run. Only God knows where this is really leading in terms of where they want to go with this.
Well, I mean, they're going to push me to the boundaries as far as they can push the boundaries. They've said it. And they are certainly well within their rights to try to push the boundaries as far as they can. But when a judge and when courts push back and say, nope, can't cross that line, that is the law of the land.